order. Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Corcoran.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Alvin.
Here.
Hoda.
Here.
Lunkins. Madison.
Here.
And Smith.
Yep.
And no, Ms. Lincoln is not here, so we will consider this an excused absence, and her understand that she's not able to be here for an excused reason. Recitation of district mission and vision. Trustee Smith, go for it. You got it handy.
Yes. Mission. Our inclusive learning community provides the best academic and social experiences by educating the whole child, one child at a time. Vision. Cultivating visionary leaders and compassionate citizens to be engaged in the global community.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, the approval of agenda and order of business. The agenda was provided to us all prior to today's meeting, and then again earlier today. Without objection, we'll pass a motion to approve the agenda by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Trustee
I just
Corcoran.
had a few questions on the personnel action report.
We're just
Oh,
approving
my
the
bad.
agenda.
I forgot.
Okay. So, without objection, we'll pass the agenda. Yes? No objections? Okay, the agenda is hereby approved, and we will go to the consent agenda. Do you want to pull that off?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other issues relative to the consent agenda other than the personnel actions? Okay, here now, what we'll do is we'll move the personnel actions to item 8G. And if there's no objection, we'll pass a motion to approve the consent agenda that's remaining by unanimous consent.
We can't move it because it's not, 8G is all the way at the bottom.
It's an action item, so it's got to, we could move it earlier, but
Yeah,
it's
'cause
going
it's-
with the rest of the actions. Is it, so?
I understand. Go
Yeah.
ahead. 8G.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so we'll move to 8G. Any other issues with the rest of the consent agenda? Okay, without objection, we'll approve the remaining items of the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Hearing none, the remainder of the items on the consent agenda are hereby approved. And we will go to presentations. Item number 5A, Plant Moran Crescent.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Donnelly with Plant Moran Cressa here tonight, representing the project team. I think most of you have seen a short memorandum that we had provided as a quick update to the bond program. Just want to speak to that. I think many of you know that we had a busy construction year last year. The key projects that we took on were the elementary HVAC projects at Einstein, Pepper, and Key, which were completed and have been closed out. We are actively working right now to finalize all open details at Lessinger, which the project was turned over last fall, but we're working through commissioning of the HVAC equipment, which will be ongoing here through the spring months as we get a load on the building. We're planning right now for 2023 construction, which one of the items on tonight's agenda is part of, the food service projects. But if you recall, a few months back, we had gotten in front of the board regarding the large project that we're going to be taking on, which is the high school HVAC projects, which will be going for 2 summers. There's just such a large amount of work there that it's going to take 2 summer seasons to complete. And we're starting that here actually later this month with some prep work, with the earnest of the work starting in June, going through the summer months, and then be ready and available for September to start school. We're going to be doing some rooftop units at the elementary buildings that we were not able to complete last year due to material procurement issues. So we're going to drop back this summer and complete that scope. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the third project that we're going to be taking on this summer is all the food service generator projects, which will basically touch all the buildings in the district, providing backup power to all critical food service equipment. And that piece is on the agenda tonight for approval. Some of the items that we've been working closely with the district on, especially Superintendent Abdullahad and Dr. Edwina Hill, now that they're engaged getting them on board, is balancing scope and budget. As many of us know, and we live it day to day, that our buying power has diminished quite substantially due to inflation, and the bond program unfortunately is no different. Since the passage of the bond, we've seen anywhere from 25 to 30% inflation across the construction industry, which in turn leads us to have to rethink the scope and the budget and get it realigned. So we're going to be looking probably at the next couple months of the process with administration, with the dollars we have left, and making priorities of the scope and getting those things realigned. We are finalizing the design for Oak Park Prep Academy. That'll be the second large project as part of Series 2. The design is being finalized here in this March, and we're going to be going out for bid in April and May, going back in front of the board here in June for approval. Now, OPA is the large HVAC project that's next in line to the high school, and that's going to be a 2-year project as well. It's just a large amount of scope. We can't get it done in one summer, so we're going to phase it to where we're going to be doing that in 24 and 25. And getting that out earlier is going to allow the team to get a jump on the procurement of all the critical infrastructure. Typically, you'll see a cycle go from late summer to fall bidding, award through the fall, early winter, and then you start the following summer. We're in a good position with OPA where we're going to have the design done early. We're going to bid it in the spring, come to the board before summer recess, get it approved, and then get our orders in earlier than most projects that are competing with us. We've had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Edwina Hill on a few occasions, and we've set up a regular cadence with the team to make sure that everybody's in alignment with the finances, the governance, everything that happens behind the scenes with the accounting, and we're getting to a good place there. I can say with the overall bond, which is roughly 54.5 million, we've committed 23 million of the 54.5 through Series 1 and Series 2 projects, and we're actively looking to sell the next bond series here, and I know the district's already, bless you, I know the district is actively working on selling Series 2 here, which is going to occur in March of this year. And Baker Tilly is also assisting the district with that. I wanted to provide a brief update tonight. I wanted to be as brief as possible, but what you can expect moving forward, especially as we get into construction, a more robust monthly report with progress photos and pictures, and that'll be in collaboration with our project team, which includes Rockford Construction and Ghaffari. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, especially related to the upcoming work this summer.
I have one question.
Sure.
The bond that we're gonna be, do you know the amount of the bond that we're gonna be giving for?
Series 2?
Yes, for Series 2.
15.8. Series 1 was 15.8, Series 2 is 15.8, and Series 3, which will be sold in 2025, is going to be 22.1 million.
Thank you. Is Baker Tilly gonna be on Series 3, or we don't know that yet?
They're the district's bond advisor, so they've been assisting the district behind the scenes with all these bond sales.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Hoyer?
As far as the food service work, so because the bids came in a little bit more than we anticipated, we decided not to include the walk-in freezer.
That's correct.
If we were to decide to do that later, would we anticipate that being a greater cost because we didn't do it at the same time that we're doing the word is
The rest of the work?
Yeah, the rest of the work.
Right.
The generators.
It's probably fair to say that prices aren't coming down, so if we choose to bid it 6 months from now, a year from now, it'll probably be more expensive. I can tell you that we are prepping some of those areas in anticipation that it might be added at a later date. Any key infrastructure, electrical raceways, things like that. So we're not going to be going backwards to add that work into the scope, but it probably would be more expensive if we procure that at a later date.
So even though you're seeing 25 to 30% inflation in the construction industry and in the rest of the economy, there's an expectation that we've already seen some of that inflation come down. You're not expecting those prices to come down in construction.
I can tell you that we've seen things flatten since COVID. 2-3 years ago is when the big inflation spikes took place. It was like a climbing mountain every month. But we have seen things stabilize to more traditional inflation. We haven't seen things go backwards quite yet. If I had a crystal ball, I wish I could tell you that I think pricing would come down, but just anticipating at a later date, if we were to bid it, pricing probably would be higher.
Thank you.
Any other from members of the board? I have one. Relative to HVAC at the high school, where do we stand?
Contracts have been awarded, they've been through the board. The equipment was procured last fall, and it's been on order for some time. We did that through consortium. We are tracking all the major pieces of equipment that we need for '23, and so far they're on track. All the subcontracts have been issued and awarded, and the trades are behind the scenes, planning for the work. We are starting prep work. When I say prep work, like running electrical conduits for new electrical or new HVAC equipment that we can do after hours, things like that. We're prepping starting this month, leading up to the school letting out. We'll be working behind the scenes for the next 2 to 3 months, with work really starting in earnest once school gets out.
The anticipation of finish?
Start of school, I can say that we'll have all major systems up and operational at the start of school. That's the expectation. Not to say that there won't be things ongoing behind the scenes after hours, to do punch list work, to commission the units, but it's our expectation that we'll have everything complete for this summer's scope up and operational by the start of school.
So the thinking is then the heating will be regulated throughout the building?
That's the anticipation. Now, keep in mind that this is a 2-year project. So we had to split kind of the scope to where it makes sense to where we can get things done in year 1 and then some more intensive work done in year 2. But yeah, it'll be a 2-year phase, but everything that we're going to get complete this summer will be up and operational, and the building will be at a more stable condition with the temperature control and all the airflow and the equipment.
And when you say 2-year, that you're referring to 23, 24?
23 and 24, yes.
Okay. And when we say temperature control, I'm thinking wintertime, rooms will be warm.
Right.
Summertime, well, I shouldn't say summer, but latter spring, the rooms can be cooled. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's the whole intent of this project, is to create more stable, modern-day heating and cooling throughout the building.
Got it. Okay. Anything else from members of the board?
Just one thing, and that's with no surprises.
Well,
Because-
it is construction. I can't say there's not going to be any surprises, but you do have a good team behind the scenes that are proactively planning for these what-ifs, and we think we have a good plan in place.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're at presentation 5B, Health Cardiac Response. Nurse Long is with us tonight. Nurse Long.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here, and it's really nice to see faces without masks. This is the first time I think I've been back in this room with everyone since we are moving forward with COVID. So it is really nice to move forward with this. Today I do have a red folder in front of you. And again, I don't think I've met everyone. I'm Vanessa Long, the district nurse here in Oak Park. So in the red folder, you have a copy of the presentation along with a copy of the cardiac emergency response plan I'm proposing, and we're hoping that we can get it approved and move forward with responding to cardiac emergencies in the schools. So this legislation is actually part of the Public Act of 2014, Public Act 12. In this Public Act, we have some policies on medication administration for our district. It requires certain training and reporting for EpiPens and Narcan, and then it encompasses several other components. In the Public Act 12, we have the drills, fire drills, tornado drills, lockdown drills. It actually states when and how many we're supposed to have of each of these types of drills. But in addition to that, we do have some legislation that was passed, and I'm hoping we can move forward with complying with this legislation. That incorporates our cardiac emergency response plan for the school district. And really, every school in Michigan should have a cardiac emergency response plan adopted and then reviewed annually. And that plan should incorporate, if we have an AED, how we're maintaining it, and how we're using it. It should also include a cardiac emergency response team, communication of the plan. So really, anybody who uses our our school buildings, or even our admin building, we really should have the plan communicated on the door, underneath our AED units, in the classrooms. So we're moving forward, trying to get this up and running. And then incorporated into this public act is actually a requirement for graduation. All high school seniors should have had at least hands-only CPR training and AED usage by graduation in Michigan. So we're really hoping to get a good program going where our students are trained to respond to cardiac emergencies and medical emergencies, at least the basic hands-only training. So we've started working in the health classrooms with PE teachers and getting into the middle schools and doing some hands-only training with CPR and AED usage. And then we've started working with the high school to train them on the students how to do CPR with hands-only CPR and AED usage. So that we're going to work towards trying to get a comprehensive program where all students are receiving that at least basic hands-only CPR and AED training. And in addition, we have emergencies. If we have an emergency, we want to share what our plan is with our EMS, our police and fire, so that they know how we respond to emergencies in our district. Why did this legislation pass, and why do we really need to move forward with a cardiac emergency plan? Cardiac arrest can happen really anywhere. In Michigan, it claims about 300 lives every year of young adults and children. So age 1 through 39, there are at least 300 children and young adults who die of cardiac arrest. 4 students last year were saved by schools that have a really strong cardiac emergency response plan, and those are defined as My Heart Safe schools. Ultimately, our goal is going to be My Heart Safe schools in every building. So the first step is to adopt that cardiac emergency response plan, get the training, and practice through drills. And in order to be My Heart Safe, you're going to practice every year responding as a team and working through these drills and improving. There's always going to be room for improvement. We know by statistics, if you provide an AED in a school before the EMS arrives, there's an 80% chance of survival to discharge. So people who receive AED and CPR in a school before the EMS arrive have a 30% increased chance of survival through discharge. That's significant. So this is why this plan is so important, and we need to just keep moving forward at working at this. I like to put a face to the why. January 2nd, many of us were watching TV when somebody at their peak, this young man, DeMar Hamlin, passed out and he died on the field at his peak of physical health by just a blow to his chest. There's no time better than right now to start working on our plan. We are looking at this young man. I saw him last night on at the Super Bowl, walking, talking, and doing things that, it's amazing. He died just over a month ago. But they're crediting the emergency response plan and actually practicing and having a good, solid team to his survival. And really, we can see it can happen anywhere, anytime, any place to anyone. So I would like to see, and I think our goal should be to be ready for these cardiac emergencies that can happen really anywhere. I just want to share a video. This is Kylie Shea. She is a 12-year-old middle schooler, and it's just going to take me a second. I'm going to pull up this video for a second here. Oh, hold on one second. Let me have
Never fails.
1 second. This is another why. We had it working.
It always works when you're practicing.
Oh, yeah.
Never fails.
Good, I can do it like this.
I think
This is where I go to school.
Share, the state school nurse consultant, and My Heart Safe play this video for really anybody that they're discussing My Heart Safe and cardiac emergency response in schools. They like to share this video of Kylie Shea. Oh, good. I really want you to see this.
Start from the beginning.
This is where I go to school. Hey guys. This is where I keep my books. You're not supposed to see this. This is where I take math. This is where I like to study. This is where I grab the spotlight. And this is where I gab.
On September 26, 2011, Kylie Shea has a heart attack. Who'd have thought something like this could happen to a 12-year-old girl? Until that day, Kylie was a perfectly healthy 7th grader. Without the quick actions of her teachers and a school automated external defibrillator, she might not be here today. Up to 80% of all cardiac events are largely preventable. Research, education, and awareness can save lives.
So we saw Kylie Shea. It can happen to anyone. Damar is the why. Kylie Shea is the why. Really having an emergency response plan is why I'm here tonight, because I really would like to see us adopt a really strong plan, and our goal should be to have a wonderful response, so we can have positive stories and outcomes. So that's part of our why. And one of the things that we do have AEDs now. We have individuals who are trained in CPR and usage of AEDs. So putting that all together, all those pieces put together, will really increase the chance of survival for anybody who does have cardiac arrest here in our district. So hopefully we'll have a comprehensive drill where we can practice and run through all of these steps, so that if there is truly an emergency, we'll be ready for that. I just wanted to share, this is our OPA CERT or MERT team. That stands for Medical Emergency Response Team. CERT team is Cardiac Emergency Response Team. We have individuals who are trained. Part of our plan is to make sure that we have those individuals trained and ready to respond. The goal for My Heart Safe is at least 10% of our staff trained in CPR and AED usage. And we have right now our administrators, all of our secretaries, our principals, our security staff, our PE teachers, our coaches. Those are all individuals who would make a great CERT team. OPA, this is a wonderful example, and our goal will be to have a CERT/MERT team in every building with individuals who all know their role, who's doing what during an emergency, where they're going. They're going to be trained to respond, and they've started that process, and OPA is doing a phenomenal job. They did get the award for My Heart Safe in September this year, so they are a My Heart Safe certified school, and hopefully our entire district will have My Heart Safe schools moving forward. But this is just a really good example of what a strong CERT or MERT team is composed of. How are we going to do this? Training by medical professionals. So of course we're going to have our nurses, certifying and training staff. We've had some wonderful community partnerships. The Student Heart Check program through Beaumont has actually donated. They donated 6 of our AED units in our buildings. And they've come in, they've offered training, they've certified our principals, some of our AAs and security staff. They're going to continue to be partners with us. They helped us with our first drill in OPA, and Jen Shea is the director, and she's willing to come anytime to help support our school district. We've also had Oakland University nursing students that we're partnering with, and the students are actually doing their public health clinical here at Oak Park. And they've come into classrooms and they're helping do some of the CPR hands-only and AED training and heart health in our classrooms. So we have some wonderful partnerships, and we're going to keep working towards getting those partnerships to continue. I did give you an attachment of the cardiac emergency response plan, and attachment B is actually the implementation piece. So that is the step-by-step sequence of responding to an emergency in every building. The nice thing about this, it has our AED locations per building, our address and phone numbers for each building, and this is what would be posted at the front door at all of our AED sections, like right by the AED, and then hopefully in the classrooms as well. So this is the implementation piece with the step-by-step instructions. And then I would like to thank you. If you would like to email me, if you would like to learn how to do hands-only CPR, I'd be happy to show anybody in this room how to do CPR, because it's so important, and how to use an AED. And so feel free to email me if you have any questions or would like to learn how to do CPR. This is just a little sample trainer that we've taken into the classrooms. Our units in the buildings look like that device. You'll see in every building, the main areas have that type of unit. So that's just the trainer. And then we have other units, like one in this hall here, and some of the adult-only areas. We have some of the older models. But all of our units look kind of like that trainer there. And it's wonderful. Jen Shea, like I said, she donated 6, but we do have quite a few in every building, strategically placed so we can get them within 3 to 5 minutes anywhere you are in the district. Okay.
Questions for Nurse Long? Trustee Smith?
Yes, Nurse Long, thank you for that outstanding presentation. So this is an easy sell here, so, yeah, this is a question. With our current AEDs that we have in the district, and the new recently donated AEDs, who's responsible for the inspections and
Yep, I checked them. The wonderful thing about our AEDs, they are all Wi-Fi enabled, our new models.
Okay.
So all of the AEDs in all of our school buildings are Wi-Fi enabled, and they check in every week. I get a report. I think, Dan, you probably get a report. You should. And Nurse Nicole, she gets a report, and we physically put eyes on those AEDs regularly. But the nice thing about these units is they check in with us. If there's an error at any point, I get an email message, and it lets us know that there's an issue with an AED, so we can go put eyes on it and do a manual check. Our units, like the one in the hall, are older models that are not Wi-Fi enabled. We're doing those maintenance checks monthly at least. And then we have a database that we actually go in and insert our checks. And we have a model that's actually outside of the concession stand at the field. I don't know if anybody has paid attention, but as you're walking through the district, maybe now look for those bright green boxes. And on the field, we have one outside. And it's all weather compatible. It stays out there all the time. It's an older unit, just because we didn't want to put one of the new ones, and we don't have Wi-Fi necessarily at that concession stand. But there's one right there for use if we needed it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Trustee Davis?
Nurse Long, thank you again for the excellent informative presentation. So the plan is already being implemented, or this is something you're presenting to start?
I'm presenting it. We do need approval from the
Okay.
board for the plan that you have in front of you.
Okay.
We have started doing the pieces though. All the
Okay.
pieces are there, and actually, Troon Law Firm has already reviewed and approved the plan. So this is the last piece that we need, is the approval of the plan, and then we can move forward
you, what did you need from the board?
It'll be presented on the February 27th. This is the first
Okay.
part, and then we'll
Okay.
present it as an action.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
It's not a policy thing, right? So we just.
No, we were just following what the board has shared with us before, presented informational first,
Okay.
and then action items, so we've just been following the same protocol.
Two things. Thing number one is I'm interested in learning. And so,
Yep.
when I have full use of my mouth without pain,
Yeah.
I will, I'll email you and copy you to say, you know, I did it.
Good news is this is hands-only CPR. so you
Right,
don't-
right.
And it really, they're
Staying
really
alive.
pushing the hands only. Of course, you can become certified if you want to become certified, but really anybody can learn hands only. And they're pushing, because of COVID, keeping the circulation is the most important part until you get an AED. That AED can really increase the chance of survival significantly.
Whatever helps, I'm down to.
Absolutely.
Learn the BG, staying alive.
Oh, yeah, staying alive, or if you're a U of M fan,
Go blue.
go blue. And that's, yep.
So yeah, I will definitely take you up on that. I'll let you know, and go ahead. You- No, no, please.
It is a workout, so just make sure you're ready. It's a
I just
workout.
had a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
The cell phone, so everyone has a cell phone. And I know that when, I think it was last semester, I brought up about, you know, where the first responders will go, because how would they know where to go? So we have now buildings that are labeled numbers, right?
Yes.
Now, I know that when something happens, cell phones, you know, everyone's 911, 911. So are you collaborating with Oak Park in regards to, you know, when someone's calling? I mean, you know, with dispatching, like what is your communication with them?
Yeah, if they call from a landline, one of our landlines, they actually get the location of the building, the room number, and wherever that call was made. If they're calling from their cell phones, if they say they're at OPA, typically what happens is the emergency responders call the main office to confirm, and usually with a good plan and with our plans that we've been implementing, once we identify that there's an emergency and you get help, the main office, part of the admin assistant's role is to dial 911, or if they have 911 on the phone, tell them what entrance to go into. Many times it's the main entrance, but sometimes if the emergency is closer to another door, we have them enter through that door, and then we have somebody meeting them at the door. That is part of the role of our teams, is knowing where the emergency is happening, responding to it, making sure the EMS knows where to go. So that's actually part of, if you see the drill, I think it's attachment D, that's one of the steps. And we have a role, actually, like all the roles listed in there. And one of the roles is to make sure we're calling 911, we're calling the family, we know where, what entrance is closest to the emergency. Somebody knows that they're the runner for the AED, and we also bring EpiPens to the emergencies. So we really have, at the middle school, we've got the roles down, and we even have some PE teachers who are part of that emergency response. And we know somebody runs in and covers those PE teachers, and one is a runner, and she's our runner to run and go get the AED and run to the emergency. And we have somebody else who's gonna run and maybe tell the office. We have somebody printing up the face sheet with the parent's phone number. If the kiddo has a known, like, chronic condition, we have forms and everything for that, and we have drawers that can pull out of our cabinets and go to that emergency. And our admin assistants know a list of our students who have emergency medications. So they pull out the drawer and give it to one of our runners, and our runners run it to the student. So it's like a dance, and everybody has their piece, or it's like a musical or a play, and everybody knows their roles. And ultimately, we want that in every building. So OPA's really got a really strong team, and they're very, they were all volunteer volunteers to be part of that team, and they're wonderful. We actually, when we did the My Heart Safe drill with Jen Shea, who goes all over Michigan, she observed our drill and said it was the best drill that she's ever seen doing this for the past 10 or 15 years.
Outstanding.
So I'm proud of our OPA team, and I think that we can get there in all of our buildings.
So the runners, is the equipment or the instrument near them to where that they're able to get to it
Yeah.
faster than, you know, because if they have it and they're going to the actual incident,
Yep.
that's right.
Our CERT teams and MERT teams, they know as soon as 911 or as soon as an emergency, even if it's a minor emergency and we don't have somebody who's had no cardiac arrest, they grab the AED and run to it. And really our middle school, sometimes I've seen emergencies where there's multiple AEDs at that emergency because they know we're taking an AED, that unit, to anywhere that there's an emergency and potential cardiac arrest. There are other things that can create cardiac arrest. Anaphylaxis, so having an allergic reaction can stop your heart. A blow to the chest. If there's an emergency, it's drilled into our team that they're gonna bring the AED. They're gonna check and make sure that kid doesn't have a chronic condition, and if they do, they're taking those supplies to that student. And many times, like I said, we have had multiple AEDs at emergencies, which I'd rather see more than one than none. And they're doing a pretty good job. And all of our AEDs are, like I said, are about 3 minutes apart from each other. So one of the first things, while the buildings were closed, we walked through, operations and I walked through and timed how long it would take to get from one area of the building to an AED. So they're strategically placed throughout all of our buildings so that we can get to one in less than 3 minutes, regardless of where you are in the buildings.
Thank you.
I just have 2 more questions. You also spoke about the 10% of those who are going to be certified. Now, based on that certification, are they going to, like, who's going to keep track once they expire? You are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have sign-in sheets. They sign up. We've had training sessions for all of our principals in every building, all of our AAs, and we do at least yearly certifications for our security staff. There's some turnover that happens, so we try to catch those individuals too, as you know, so it's good for 2 years. But if we do it yearly, we'll catch those individuals who may have lapsed or who might need still that training.
Right. So you mentioned, Mr. Hamlin, there was a student by the name of Carter Woods who didn't get that opportunity to live just a couple of weeks ago at Northwestern High School. He collapsed. God bless his family. So with that being said, when it comes to the games, are they there, the AEDs?
Yeah.
And also, are the coaches, because the ones that you have as runners are not going to be at the games.
Our
So-
security staff at the buildings are usually at the
So
games.
again, you say there's a percentage or some.
Yeah.
That security person, are they always going to be at that game because they are certified?
The nice thing, so all coaches who are coaching varsity have to be CPR certified. In our district, even our middle school coaches are CPR certified.
I
They're-
understand.
Yeah,
I
so
understand.
yeah, those coaches are CPR certified.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Mr. Hamlin was a professional, so
Yeah.
there was multiple emergency people there,
Yeah.
okay? Here in our school, we don't have that type of team.
No.
So that is why if we have coaches that have the CPR, then where's the other person to come and collide with that person to save that life?
We're hoping, my goal, and really our goal, is to get as many people certified or trained. They don't have to be certified to do CPR, but at least if they're trained. And if we share this response plan, then they'll have our phone number, they have the addresses, they have the location of the AEDs. Hopefully, with the coaches that are certified, they'll lead the actual hands-on CPR. And that's where our kids can get involved too. Our kids can run. They can call 911. They can help with chest compressions. They can go get supplies. So really the goal, I think in the community in general, is to have as many people trained to help as possible. It just becomes when you don't have that team, sometimes you don't know what you can do to help. But I always say doing something is better than doing nothing. And if you have somebody who will just take charge, even if we're out on the street and we're walking, if you have somebody who knows how to do at least hands-only CPR, then they can start guiding you. And that's part of CPR certification is we're talking about you're doing the chest compressions, and then if I'm tired, I might say, hey, I need you, Miss Pat, to come and do these compressions and take over. Or can you call 911? Can you go get the AED? Will you go call the parents? Please help me. So part of that certification is knowing how to guide somebody through an emergency as well. And really the goal should be for everyone to learn how to do CPR, at least the hands-only, because you can do hands-only CPR for 20 minutes and keep somebody's heart pumping and keep them alive.
Well, I thank you for understanding that I am focused on building that team.
Absolutely.
Because again, he had a team and he says if it wasn't for his trainer, he wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
So I thank you.
Thank you.
Question relative to this plan. Does the cardiac emergency response plan, I shouldn't say does, how does that stack up against others in the area? I mean, I assume we didn't just create this, like we
No.
borrowed from others, correct?
Yep, we actually, so back and forth with Troom, we've gone back and forth. This plan was something that I started back in 2020 while buildings were still closed. And it's gone back and forth and we've added and edited, but it really is from the My Heart Safe program, which there's Project Adam, and that's really based nationally on cardiac emergency response. This plan specifically was from the My Heart Safe program, and we just adopted it and added the Oak Park name and locations of our AEDs and things like that.
Have you seen similar plans in other schools? Like, have you seen theirs, like in other districts?
I'm looking.
You're looking.
I'm looking. I have not seen, so I do know actually, there's a nurse in Rochester. She's in My Heart Safe. She uses, she actually had Jen Shea as part of her mentor from the Beaumont Student Heart Check. They saved a kid last year, this school year in the fall, with their cardiac plan. And it's very similar to our plan. And they've had the team and drills and things yearly, and they had to use it, I think in October, they saved a kiddo in Rochester. This is the state standard, so I work with Michigan Association of School Nurses, and they help us get information from My Heart Safe and connected with some of these organizations that help write plans.
Got you. I'm move approval of the cardiac emergency response plan.
I just have one.
Motion's been made second. You have a question?
I did.
Go for it.
The question was the field. I see you have the concession stand, but is that AED going to be there where the players are, close, or?
Our community members could grab it. It's actually sitting, it's been there for 2.5 years, two years. Outside, it's an all-weather AED unit. It alarms very loudly if you open it. But if somebody is walking on the track during the day, a community member is walking and collapses, and there's somebody who sees that AED sign, we want them to be able to access that AED.
No, I think the question I'm trying to ask is during a game, you saying it's there
It's
on
there.
the field?
It's hooked on the concession stand.
See, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that, so.
Outside.
Will it be
It's
able to?
outside.
Okay.
You'll see it if you walk, next time you go on the track, if you walk the track, you'll see the AED sign, and you could get it tonight. It's an all-weather case too, so you'll be able to, you could get it out. If you opened it, it would alarm really loudly, but yeah, community members, anybody can use it.
That's not my question. My question
sorry.
is that during a game, will it be able to be, you know, closer
She's
than
asking
the
if you could
concession
move it.
stand?
Well, it's like a minute jog from the track to that, case.
A minute.
So we wanted a tweak because there's some things about field trips, about the AD having one with a strap. That's what we were hoping that we presented, but
Yeah.
before we adopted, there's a few things, like field trips. When you go on field trips, you're supposed to have one on there. The coach is supposed to have one right there. An athletic trainer is supposed to have one so they don't run
We have
to them.
we do have a portable one,
Right,
that
but-
Coach Carter
Right,
carries,
but it-
but, yeah,
All right, I'll rescind the motion since you want to work on to tweak some language.
yeah.
Yes.
I can't
Please.
see that we'll be able to put one any closer to the field than,
Well, the word portable was what I was looking for.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Like if it-
portable one is carried by the.
Yeah, because I mean, a minute from where they're
That's a lot.
playing and depending on where they are, they at the touch, you know, are they at the field? I mean, that minute is from where? That.
Pretty much anywhere, and like honestly, a lot of schools opt not to put one outside, they have one inside. So it's actually quicker to get to that unit than it would be if we were to leave it inside. And that's why we have the all-weather one, to make it accessible, not just to our athletes, but our community members who are walking the field. So it's readily available. They do have the portable unit, but again, that could be, Coach Carter could be on that side of the field, and it could happen on this side of the field. So minutes do count. Our goal is less than 3 to 5 minutes to get that AED on somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Item 5C, staff attendance presentation, Ms. Fenderson.
Good evening to our board and to my fellow cabinet members. I am Aaliyah Fenderson, Director of Human Resources. President Alvin requested a report card of our staff attendance, so I'm here to present information regarding attendance and the district policies and where we're looking, or how we're looking to move forward in the future, near future. So it is the district's mission. Our inclusive learning community provide the best academic and social experiences by educating the whole child, one child at a time. So how do we do that? We show up for work, ready to go, on time, every day. That at least is our expectation. It is the district's attendance policy, which is located in the employee handbook, Section 5, Workplace Environment, Section 5.2, attendance / targets. Regular attendance and punctuality are essential to the efficient and productive performance of work. Staff are expected to remain productive at work through the end of their schedule. Staff are expected to report to work on time, start work at their regularly scheduled time every day. And excessive absenteeism or tardiness, whether excused or not, is unacceptable. Attendance monitoring. When absent or tardy, all staff, including us here in admin, are required to report absence in WILSA, which is our absence management system. We are also to notify our supervisor with an explanation of the absence or tardiness, and notify our supervisor when we plan to report to work. So as a part of OPEA collective bargaining agreement, currently we have an agreement where we offer an attendance bonus incentive. That incentive, if staff has 10 days that can be returned to the district at the end of each school year, we would, the incentive will be $1,000. Okay, so in 2020, 2021, we have 45 eligible staff members that qualify for the attendance bonus incentive. As you can see, the number dropped in 2021, 2022, where we have 16 eligible staff who were eligible. And the current data is not available for this school year. It will not be available until May. However, in reviewing and assessing the data, we have 107 staff members with less than 5 absences, or 5 or less absences for the year. So, I completed a attendance comparison chart so we could see where we were a year ago versus where we are now. The blue is the look back period for 2021, 2022. And because we are still in the current active school year, I measured time and absences used in August through January of this year. As you can see, there's a lot of fluctuation. And when we get down to the current year, in comparison in January 2021, 2022 versus this year, there has been a significant change, a decrease in absenteeism, and that is in part because of our change in our processes and procedures as it relates to our evaluation plan. The data currently indicates that there is about a 1% decrease of staff absenteeism, which is a small improvement, but it is improvement. But this data also represents a great loss in productivity and quality. Okay. So what are we looking to do? What are our goals and objectives? We would like to take a deeper dive and determine some of the underlying attendance issues. We do acknowledge that they do exist. Evaluate our attendance policy, improve morale, and collaborate with our administrators to address excessive absenteeism. So we would like to reset the workplace expectations regarding attendance protocols and understand what the employee needs. Focus on personal recognition and highlight some areas where we do have those staff members who are achieving to our expectations. But we also want to, when there is a need to address absenteeism, hold our administrators accountable for addressing that in the building and take disciplinary action and address the attendance issues in the building. So that is our current report card. Again, because we're in the current school year, I do not have data for this year, but I would like to come back after or at the end of the school year and provide some updated information.
Questions? Trustee Smith?
Yes, Ms. Fenderson, thank you for that presentation.
You're welcome.
In parallel to this, right now with these numbers, and I know you said that there's some disparity in regards to reporting right now. What do we look like? What do we look like in regards to substitutes? Are we at a low in utilization of substitutes, or? And I'm only relating this to absenteeism versus being in the class.
So we do have, we are currently utilizing our subs probably at about the same rate that we were using them before to address the issues of our teacher vacancies as well.
Okay.
So it's not just replacing subs to address an attendance issue, we have to address our vacancies.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Hoyter?
Thank you. So in the employee handbook, when we talk about excessive absences, whether they're excused or not, that's referring to whether they're using PTO or not?
Correct.
And what do we consider excessive?
So, a part of the OPA contractual language, a staff member can be absent up to 3 consecutive days. And then on the 4th day, the district can ask for a doctor's note to excuse the absence, or we consider that an unauthorized leave of absence, and then we're requesting documentation. So we're looking for a repeated pattern. So there could be a situation where an individual has a medical concern that they're addressing. That's different from someone taking time off of work because they simply want to take an extra day off work. And analyzing some of the data, could recognize that Fridays and Mondays are the favorite time to take time off of work. So our administrators would spend some time looking at that data in their building to address the need and those individuals who take advantage of the PTO time.
Okay, and in the bar graph, that's, the number we're looking at is the number of absences?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So it's over 2,600 absences from August to January.
and,
Divided by
Divided by,
per hour. So that's how sometimes people take a half a day. So you take that 2,700 and divide it by 5 or 6 hours, and that will tell you number of days total.
correct.
okay. So you mentioned that the the evaluation has changed, seems to be having an effect. Can you tell us more about that?
So right now, the evaluation, we are asking our principals to go in and do observations sooner rather than later. So as of right now, they're going in making observations. The teachers are aware, and observations play a part in the final evaluation at the end of the year. So it has had some impact on the attendance for the month of January.
And if they're noticing patterns, they can include that in their evaluation as well? So if they're seeing a
Yes.
certain, okay, thank you.
I have a couple quick questions. How many, and if you covered it, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, but how many PTO days does a teacher receive?
So first year, coming into the district, received 14 days.
So it goes up based on longevity?
No, it does not. So a new teacher comes in, they receive 14 days, they donate 1 day to the central sick bank, but everyone annually receives 14 days.
So you get 14 days.
Yes,
And we still got a good number of people who have at least 10 days left.
yes.
Okay. And I don't know that I completely understood. I know I don't understand the graph well, but I'll talk to you about that offline. But I'm trying to understand the excessive part. So, it's my understanding we got a lot of subs, like, in the buildings, like, consistently. Can you, I know you said if they get to the fourth one, they gotta provide documentation. At what point do we, because I think that the thing is the students have to be, you can't miss like more than 10% of learning time, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so how many teachers do we have that miss more than 10% of teaching and learning time? Do you know-
It's quite a few. And those we have been addressing on an individual employee basis. There have been some concerns with FMLA, so individuals that have serious health conditions. So there are a lot of things that come into play. We have the teacher tenure law, we have to follow the progressive disciplinary plan, but that's the part where we get the buy-in from our administrators to do better with monitoring the attendance of the staff in their buildings. So, for example, when there is someone who reaches that 3rd day mark, and now they're at the 4th day, then I'm involved and I receive a report and I'm reaching out to the administrator as well as the employee to find out what's going on and then what's the next steps. Is it a cause for the principal to bring that individual into the office and have a conversation and provide a verbal warning followed by, memorializing that conversation in writing and filing it in the school file and sending it over to HR? Or is it me contacting that employee to say, do you need FMLA? What's going on? How can we support you? And that has happened more recently. It has happened at least 3 times over the last 2 months.
How many of these would you say are egregious?
I would say a couple of them are.
Can I say something?
Sure.
All right.
I'm not trying to put her on a hot
No.
seat, I'm just trying to
So
understand.
that, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. I don't want to lose fact of the 107 that are there. And to me, it's the mind shift of, I'm allowed 14, so I'm going to take the 14. And changing that mindset, meaning the CBA is the baseline, not the ceiling. Right? And trying to get that mind shift that how can I be the top of my game if I'm not in front of the children. So there's two things. There are 107 out of the 212 that have 5 or less. So there are people that are going above and beyond. There are some that have medical conditions that we have to accommodate, and we have to coach and mentor. Our job is not to be punitive in nature, but to provide the best quality of instruction that we can. Can't really do that if we don't have people in front of children. And so it's a dance that we have to do, and it starts with us, and we're doing that, and we're trying to empower others to step up.
Like you don't feel well.
I know. Taking advantage.
Trustee Hoyter?
So, talking about the 14 being a baseline, I think it seems to me the bigger concern is not someone using their 14 days this year, but someone who's been working in the district for 20 years and now has used however many over the years, but now has a bank of 100, 200 or so days, and now they're using them on an ongoing basis. How that impacts student learning in that case, right? So, and I wonder if there are there policies that you need from us that would help empower you to be more I guess what I'm saying is I don't think anyone is concerned about that teacher who has a health condition, who has a family member that needs them, that needs their support, that has something going on that they need that time. But when we're looking at people that are taking advantage of, I don't even want to use the word taking advantage because that's not what it is, that they're using their earned time off in a way that's impacting student learning, how do we address that? Are there, when you look at that policy book, are there holes in there that you need us to address?
So I would say two things. One, working collaboratively with the union, because the union doesn't want to, they don't want to be tainted with, I mean, if I were representing the union, I would say, well, there's 107 members that are kicking butt and doing everything they can, so they don't want, so one, working collaboratively with the union, we have all the tools that we need at our disposal. We just have to implement those tools. That's one. Two, working with the union, trying to do a mind shift on what it means to deliver a quality instruction. It starts with us from the top, modeling, teaching and learning, accountability, and it trickles down. So it's a delicate balance, but no one wants to be looked at and judged on the weakest part. They want to be looked at their strengths too, so I think working together. But we have the tools that we need, and we are going back to, it is a bargaining year, so we are going back to discuss it. But there's some things in there that legally are binding, and so we have to adhere to those. It's no one's fault. It's there. It's memorialized. It was agreed upon by both parties, and so we have to work around that.
We're getting ready to go back into negotiations, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just one other thing to it. I know we dangle a carrot of $1,000. I wonder what other districts are doing, and if the carrot is a large enough carrot to invoke the action that we're looking for.
So to me, it is not, because if I look at my daily rate, say hypothetically for a teacher on 181, it's $500 a day. So to give up 10 days, you're basically giving me $100 a day, where I could just call in sick and get my $500. So if you really want to incentivize, $1,000 doesn't do anything. But just like we talk about positive behaviors reinforcement through the students, we could also focus on those that are there every day. Every day, there's half of the teacher body right now that have 5 or less in the whole academic year. What are we doing to support them? So the carrot, yes, I think it needs to be larger, and we're going back to bargaining, but also recognizing the employees that are going above and beyond, because there are employees that are going above and beyond, and we have to be careful on how do we maneuver not to forget about them.
Got you. Anything else, members of the board? Thank you for that, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will go to report, we got one. Superintendent, go ahead.
I'll be quick. Thank you, Nurse Long, Ms. Fenderson. So in my superintendent's report, first and foremost, I want to just speak of the young man that was involved in that. He's in great spirits. We're in constant communication with the family. He's excited to come back. I don't want to speak on him, but I feel very moved to see the growth, and I don't want us to forget and just have it a talking point for 1 month. And so I just want to, he is doing great on the road to recovery. I'm constantly bothering Mom and talking to her, and I'm sure she's sick and tired of hearing from me, but I just feel like we're responsible for every kid, and we have to check on every kid. So he's doing great. We have, if you recall, we've applied for a lot of grants. We've received over $1.5 million to date in all those grants that we talked about. So now we're in action mode. So now you're going to be seeing all these monies. Again, the things that I'm presenting to you for action, unless otherwise specifically stated, general fund, I'm using grants and all of that to free up the general fund for, not just to build it up, but to utilize it for other things that we are in need of. So social emotional programs, you got one that you're seeing today. They actually have been doing it already right now. They're waiting for us to take action, but my hope is that you pass it. Again, this is grant funding. It's not touching the general fund. It's the Hero Circle, so you'll see that coming up. But we also have second step. We also wrote in the grant, Capturing Kids' Hearts. Again, if you don't have the heart of a child, what good is it that you're a great phonetics teacher or linguistic teacher? You start with the heart, and then you address the mind. And so that's what we're doing. You're going to see in the next couple months security plans change, right? So we got the grants for Evolve. Evolve, if you recall, is the biometric reader that you'll see in Ford Field. So right now at the high school, we're wanding, we have to search the kids, creates a bottleneck. We're going to free all of that up. Kids are just going to walk in. The machine will do all the work. We ordered 2 for the high school. It's going to eliminate all the congestion and the complaints that we're getting for first hour. Kudos to President Alvin, because he and I talked about this in the beginning of the year, right when I came in, regarding the biometrics. And so we're also putting one at Nova. And if you recall the updates, I'll be happy to address that at the 27th, on February 27th meeting. And if things are doing well, then we'll move it to middle school. Elementary, I don't believe needs anything. Knowing the kids and the smaller teacher-student ratio and the administrators there, I think we're good on that one. and I've not had any complaints or any requests of that from the administrators. So you're going to see that. We also met with our student focus groups. We met with us, the senior class, President Alvin and I, and then we didn't stop there. We met with 7 other focus groups at the high school, and then President Alvin did request that he attend some of those. It's great to hear from the kids, because then you get to really hear why we do what we do. And sometimes standing up here, we tend to forget when you're in it. It really helps elevate that. And so we met. We'll present the board some of that feedback that we heard. And our recommendation and our goal in that is to do it either monthly or bi-month, every other month. And our focus is twofold: academics and to understand and shift the culture. If you recall, the goal of the board was to change the culture and perception of the district, and to have Oak Park pride in what we do. So great there. We had our S&P credit rating. If you recall the update, we got AA in program rating, which is really good. I'd like to take credit for that, but that was not me. That was you guys before. But just appreciate that we're in a good place as a district, and we're going to highlight that and celebrate that as much as we can. Black History Month right now, we are 100% full steam ahead, different buildings, different things that we're doing. We do have a calendar that the administrators have, so if parents are interested, we could share that out. We shared it with the board. And schools are doing some amazing things. They're on TV, they're getting visits from famous people and student athletes, and it's just a level of excitement that is generated right now, and we want to build on that. And so just want to highlight that. We also have, and I shared with you, a list of equipment disposal. Remember, I told you it's going to be 3 phases. We're just trying to clear out, dispose of non or old material. When it comes to furniture, and I'll present that, what we're going to do, what I suggested to the team, when it comes to desks, tables, and things like that, what we're going to do once we get approval, we're going to utilize one weekend where we empty out this this parking lot, put it out there free for anyone that needs tables or chairs and stuff before we dispose of it. Then we're going to work with the city just to promote it. After the board approves the disposal, we'll put it out there, be free for the taking, and then what's left over, then we'll discard. That way, if people have a need. With technology, it's kind of hard because of the data that's on there. Summer school planning is early, but it's needed because of the bonding and the construction. We started summer school planning to, typically that you would see something like this March, April. We already started discussions in our vision that we would like to see is that really kind of bothers me is to take elementary students and put them into one building. That's not even their building. It takes, I didn't like that. I don't think that's really conducive for creating a relaxed environment to target interventions for students, because they got to get acclimated to new buildings. I just believe that students need to be in the building that they're comfortable with and understand the buildings, and that's what our goal is for summer school. But we'll present that to you at a later time. More in detail, the principals will present that to you. iReady data is going to be on the February 27th meeting. It's the halfway fall to winter. Fall to winter scores. We believe in being open and transparent, and that's what we want to share with you, share with the building, with the community, with the staff. This is where we work, this is where we are, this is how we get better. There is no need to hide anything, and this is where we work. This is where we are, this is where we're trending. And I think staff will be amazed at the level of growth that they've accomplished so far. But we'll present that on the February 27th meeting. SRO, the school resource officer posting will go up soon. What I'm doing is cross-referencing with what we believe we want to post with all the other districts, just to make sure that we're doing it. I don't believe in fully arming a school resource officer. That's just my thing. I don't need a taser on you. I don't need a gun on you. I don't need a baton. I need a mediator, facilitator, someone who's empowered to be that resource part of the officer, not the officer part of that. So we're just tweaking that and cross-referencing that, because the majority of school resource officers are run through their actual active police officers, and they have, and I just, me personally, I don't like that, and I don't think that is the best utilization of funding. Finally, I think that is it. That is all I have. All right, that is my report.
Thank you, Trustee Copeland.
You mentioned culture, and I had actually come across this quote. I don't know who actually quoted it, but it says, "You can't love the culture and not support the people." And I want to thank you and the administration for supporting the students in the needs of the culture that we are dealing with at this time. And also, we came a little bit out of the agenda. I was on 5G or 8G. We forgot me, but I got my answers, my questions answered.
8G?
I think it was
We
right after.
we haven't got to 7 yet.
Oh, I thought we were already past that.
We're getting ready to go to 7.
Okay, my bad.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
you can still skip it because I already got the answer.
Well, we gotta prove it, but okay, no worries.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll approve.
Okay. Anything else for Superintendent Abdullah? Thank you for the report. We come to item 7, public participation. Part of the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address the board if it so desires. Public participation is one-way communication in which members of the public are asked to address the full board with the understanding that board members are not able to respond. Trustee Davis, will you please provide the public comment guidelines?
Because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and is totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not be directed at specific personnel or board members.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board? Any members of the public who wish to address the board? Last go round. Any members of the public who wish to address the board? Hearing and seeing none, we will move to action items 8A, approval of Hero Circle grant proposal. You got it up. Trustee Hoyter, would you please read that action item?
Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve the purchase of the Hero Circle contract in the amount of $70,000.
Motion is made by Hoyter. Is there a second? Seconded by Smith. Is there any question on the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Copeland,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Madison,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
Item 8B, purchase of generators and installation at all 7 Oak Park schools. Trustee Smith, would you like to read that? Okay.
Resolved that the board accepts the administration recommendation for the bid for site preparation and installation of generators for the 7 Oak Park schools to be awarded to Sawyer Services of Chesterfield, Michigan, in the amount of $2,064,938.40. This will be paid through proceeds from the District Food Service Fund and the ESSER grant. That's a grant.
The motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
What's the matter? I have a question. Okay. Motion made by Smith, seconded by Corcoran. Trustee Hoyt.
So I was wondering about, so the determination was made that that there was not enough in the funding to cover the cost. We were looking to spend down our excess food service fund, our food service fund balance. And in order to cover that, we're taking money from ESSER fund and deleting the walk-in freezer. Since we've been seeing a consistent surplus in the food service fund and looking at the report that we got in terms of January, do we anticipate having another fund balance at the end of this year that we're going to have to spend down? And would it make sense to anticipate that and have that work done now rather than waiting until we have to spend it down?
I would recommend, let's see where we are in June. We could always present it to you, but why take action now when, let's just wait in June, and then we could build up and then present it in June. My belief is, I know he said we're stagnant, but I believe we've hit the peak of inflation, and now costs are gonna go down, and I know it's neutral right now and it's going down, but you already hit the peak, and if you watch. So is there any difference waiting now to, let's see where we are in June, and if things are good, we'll present it to you in June, and we could take action in June.
Good. Yep. Questions? Any other questions from the board? Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Addison,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
and Alvin.
Yes. Item 8C, superintendent contract amendment. Okay, hold on. Immediately following the board's evaluation of Superintendent Abdullah on December 8, 2022, it was moved, seconded, and passed that I, as the board president, be empowered to negotiate a potential amendment to the superintendent's contract. Following review, discussion, and negotiations, we have arrived at a potential agreement to be ratified by the board that does the following. It extends the superintendent's contract by 1 year through June 30th, 2026. Increases the superintendent's salary to the amount reflected in the amendment.
Okay.
However, it also eliminates the need for the board to be required to give an increase to the superintendent for the 2023-24 school year. The board may do so at its choosing, but is not required to do so for this year only, pursuant to the terms of the amendment. And it amends the vacation, illness, personal days of the contract as well. The proposed amendment was shared with the board on January 30th, 2023. I have not yet received any feedback. Are there any questions? Trustee Hoyt.
23-24, that will be the next school year. So
It's this summer, the one where you do in anticipation of the next year. So it would be this summer, so we don't have to. In general, the contract states there's an X amount that you can't go below for the ensuing year. This time, given this increase, we don't have to. We can, but we're not required to based on the terms of the amendment. So, I mean, if you want to at the end of the year and say we want to do something for next year, we can do that, but we're not required to. Just seeing as how we're doing one now. Okay? Any other questions? Everyone's seen the agreement, right? I mean, the amendment? Okay. Okay. Trustee Madison? Have you seen?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure. Just want to make sure. Okay. Well, if there are no other additional questions, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
There a
Davis,
resolution?
Oh, I'm sorry, duh. Resolved that the board approve the superintendent's contract amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by myself and seconded by trustee Davis. Thank you for that. Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Davis,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Madison,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
and Elton.
Yes. Okay, and so that has now passed. Yes, okay, I want to smile a little bit.
Maybe
No, you,
He's out, boo.
no, I think,
On my head,
no
man.
comment. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well earned. Item 8D, approval of MASB Winter Institute 2023, trustee Don Corcoran. Somebody want to read this one?
Yeah.
Okay, trustee Smith.
Approval of MASB Winter Institute 2023. Trustee Dawn Corcoran resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve trustee Dawn Corcoran's registration and CBA courses to the Michigan Association of School Boards Winter Institute 2023, Friday, February 24th through Sunday, February 26, 2023.
Thank you. Motion made by trustee Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded by trustee Corcoran. Any question on this?
I got a
Trustee
question.
Smith.
It's in lieu of the actual Winter Institute. Not knocking trustee Corcoran's participation. I'm just surprised were any other of the board members aware of the Winter Institute
They
that was
all
upcoming?
get the
They are?
same.
Okay. Good.
Trustee
Fine, that's it.
Madison, you were aware as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. And again, if others want to go,
Yeah.
the funds are set aside for us
Yep.
to have training. Trustee Hoda.
Can I offer a friendly amendment,
Sure.
which would be to change the language to approve, so it would be, approve board
Members.
trustees registration and attendance at,
So registration, hotel,
No.
so I don't believe it, I
No,
believe
it's
it's
online.
online.
is it online?
It's online.
No, it isn't.
It's in person.
It's
Mhm.
virtual.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it
no,
is.
this one is
No,
in
this
person,
one-
so it's Grand
I'm
Traverse.
going,
No,
so
it's
you
not
ask
in
me.
Grand
What's it? It's in Detroit.
I'm driving to Lansing.
It's in Land.
Oh, it's in
Also,
Lansing.
that's it.
It's in Lansing. I thought it was in person. I just didn't know where. So, you were right, it would include, I'm saying it would include
The
lodging
mileage.
and meals.
But that's in the bylaw, so I didn't know if we had to,
It's in your budget.
yeah.
Master Winter Institute. With the appropriate approved trustees and corporate registration, lodging,
No,
and meals.
There's no lodging.
there's
there.
no.
No lodging, you don't need any?
No.
No.
No
it's
meals either, so just registration
Just, yeah, meals,
And-
I
and-
don't know. 'cause
and
it-
mileage.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm looking here at the MASB website, it says live virtual event.
Okay, so I'm looking at my email, and my email says, one second. One moment.
It says virtual there. Can we
Okay,
just,
it says here, we have received your registration for the following. You will receive a final email confirmation completing your registration when payment has been processed for the 2023 Winter Institute, February 24th, 9 a.m. through February 26th, 4 p.m. It says that the place is going to be 1001 Cantel Way, Suite 400, Lansing, Michigan, 48917. There's no virtual because they would have given me the,
so what we'll do is we can, so it says registration, why don't we say mileage? registration, and courses. There does say in-person events, even if it's not, putting mileage on there doesn't hurt us. But to not have it, that means we can't give it. So
Yeah, because I saw where it said Zoom as well, but then when I got the email, I thought it was.
Legally, I believe you have to feed members of the board if you're gonna send them out. So I think you wanna put in all costs related to that, because you don't wanna send a member of the board and then tell them, hey, starve, or you're on your own dime. It's just my recommendation to include costs and meals.
Trustee Hoyler is offering a friendly amendment, so we'll say mileage, meals, registration, and courses. Okay? So that encompasses it all?
Yes.
Thank you.
For any board member that wants to.
But are there others who want to go? Because we can do that now. Okay, so we have one who wants to go. We're going to pass this motion, but first we have a friendly amendment, and so I'll say it this way. Without objection, we will accept the friendly amendment in a what do I want to use? In a unanimous, by unanimous consent. Thank you, Jesus. Without objection, we'll accept the friendly amendment by unanimous consent. Robert's Rules requires a friendly amendment be approved by the body. Whether or not you approve of it or not, the body has to approve it. Can we approve that part by unanimous consent, the friendly amendment? Okay. Now the motion is approval of MASB Winter Institute 2023. Trustee Don Corcoran. Resolve the Oak Park Board of Education approve Trustee Don Corcoran mileage, meals, registration, and courses to the Michigan Association of School Boards Winter Institute 2023, Friday, February 24th through Sunday, February 26th, 2023. Good? Good. Ms.
Now,
Griffin?
if it goes to virtual, you wouldn't even need, I won't need it.
That's okay, but we
Okay,
have the
just
proof
saying.
just in case. You don't need it, we won't use it.
Something happens.
Albert,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
and Manis.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Item 8A, authorization for board members to attend the National School Board Association, NSBA, Annual Conference, Orlando, Florida, April 1 through 3, 2023. Trustee Davis, you able to read it?
Yes.
Okay.
Resolved that the Oak Park Board authorizes members Don Corcoran, Alburn Alvin, and Superintendent Angel Abdullahi attendance at the NSBA Annual Conference, Orlando, Florida, April 1st through the 3rd, 2023, for conference expenses to include registration, airfare, hotel, and meals.
Thank you, motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Smith. Let me ask now, are there any other board members who want to attend? Trustee Madison, you want to attend?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do too.
I do too.
Well, if that's the case,
Superintendent, I know knows the way to drive them.
He's-
to
he's-
So
Orlando.
I know the.
I know he's going as well. So
I could take them in.
had I known all of you wanted to attend, I swear I wouldn't do it. But all right,
You don't have money?
It is good to get information.
we don't have money for this
nationally.
many people.
No.
How,
Not in
okay,
your
how
budget.
many people can
I'll pull
go?
that. I'll pull it back.
I mean, you can go.
How much
No,
do we
it's
have
not
enough
asking
money
that.
for?
I would just note that this is not that the board has chosen not to be members of NSBA
That's
and
correct.
has not gone to this conference in several decades. If we are going to decide to go, it's a significant expense
It's
that
not cheap.
yeah,
It's not cheap.
Yeah,
we should carefully consider that.
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
you guys.
It is, I know you've not done it before, it does not mean that it's not a good source of information, because every state in every part of the United States and the regions do things differently, whether it's social emotional, whether it's school safety, and if we always get this information from the same source, MASB or Superintendent, MASA, we always tend to get the same things. And so going out and getting information is beneficial. And most times, when I've gone to conferences, there are so many different vendors that pay for the meals that you end up not incurring any costs other than the actual travel expenses and the lodging. Most times they're taking you out for meals because they're trying to sell you something. You don't have to agree to what they're selling you.
I believe the primary expense is the travel and the lodging, right? So I think, as Ms. Greer is pointing out, since this is not something the board has done before, the board has not chosen to budget for that. If we were to decide to do that, I would think like any other, if we were going to significantly expand the board's budget for something like this, that would be a discussion that we would have about amending the budget, right? And where
That's coming on the 27th. I didn't expect that to be at this meeting. I thought we were gonna give details to the board on total cost per individual.
There's a reason for that.
Oh, okay.
Because they required you to hurry up and get in the registration.
Oh, okay.
Deadline.
Okay.
That's the reason.
Can you
why.
pull up what's in the budget for?
You know, right now, the budget, which is 23, which includes the superintendent as well as the board, you know, you have a balance left of $103,000. That's a lot of money. And then, you know, I'll just make a note to do any adjustments that I need. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal.
Thank you.
What is she saying?
That's not the
So-
number Jody gave me today. That's not the number Jody gave me.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, we have a budget amendment that's happening on the 27th. You know, I can easily incorporate this trip. It's, you know, it's, professional development is good and always needed, and it does benefit the district.
Okay, so, I know you said you don't wanna go now.
Yeah, I withdraw. Can I just say this one thing?
You can
I
say
think
that.
there was some confusion because there was supposed to have been a meeting in Washington DC, and I was thinking that this
No,
was.
that's-
that was the end of January.
That was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's different.
Okay, so, did you still wanna go?
Yeah. I
Okay.
need the education.
Can we,
I'll stay back and I'll trade a
No,
spot.
no.
But it-
and in actuality, like I told you this already, I mean, first of all, it starts before the first.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on before the first.
Mhm.
And I'm leaving Sunday night, so it'd be good to have someone else besides just Dawn there on Monday.
Yeah,
So I'm good with it.
so
So,
President President Alvin,
Yeah.
Trustee Davis, Corcoran, and Madison.
okay.
I could, four people. I'll get all numbers and I'll send them out, and then we'll present those numbers to the board on the 27th.
What's wrong?
No, it was 4 people or 5 people. Superintendent.
He's not on this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, yes, he is, yes, he is. So, and then.
I'll withdraw and then you.
No, you're
you're not.
not.
She said she tried that.
I pulled out from San Antonio. I didn't go to San Antonio.
That didn't come from us.
I know.
And Trustee Madison. All right. So, let's do we do a friendly amendment then? It's gonna change the scope of this, but resolve the Oak Park Board authorizes members Dawn Corcoran, Albert Elvin, Larmenda Davis, Paige Madison, and Superintendent Angel Abdullah heads attendance at the NSBA Annual Conference, Orlando, Florida, April 1 through 3, for conference expenses to include registration, airfare, hotel, and meals. If there are no objections, we'll handle the friendly amendment by unanimous consent. Are there any objections to doing so? Okay, the friendly amendment is now added to the motion. Are there any questions on the motion itself now? Ms. Greer, please come.
Madison?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Alvin?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
And Hoda.
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. We will go to AF Technology Install Partners LLC, Evolve. you have it?
Yeah.
Oh, then we'll let trustee Corcoran go
Okay.
for it.
One second. Still stuck on the, technology, right?
Just take over, we're gonna go change this.
Result,
Oh, you got
yeah.
it?
Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve the purchase of the, is that
Evolve.
Evolve
Yeah.
Express package, for Nova in the amount of $87,787, and the high school in the amount of $228,487 to improve the school safety. Evolve.
Support.
Support, okay.
What, can you jump in?
Mr. Vice President, I believe there's a motion on the floor made by trustee Corcoran and supported by myself.
Yes. And well, there are, outside my computer's just froze on me.
Would you like
Sounds
to?
good. Is there any?
Yeah, are there any,
Questions?
yeah, any questions, excuse me?
No.
Any unreadiness? No? Ms. Hill, can we do the call?
Davis?
Roll call.
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Madison?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Melvin is out the vote. Elvin?
Yes.
There, my apologies there. I clicked off the board for it.
Motion passes. Let's go to item 8G, personnel actions approval. Trustee Corcoran moved this item off, but has since gotten the answer that she needs. So, move approval of personnel actions. To report. Move approval of personnel actions.
Support.
Okay, motion made by myself, seconded by trustee Hoyda. Are there any questions on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Elvin?
Yes.
Hoda?
Yes.
And Madison?
Yes.
Item 9A, OCSBA proposed amendment to OCSBA, I transposed it here like a dummy. Bylaws. Superintendent Abdul-Ahad,
That's you.
is that me? Oh,
That's you guys.
that's me. Sorry, guys. So we were provided those, I believe, and are there any questions on those? I know we have to approve them by the next meeting, so if there are any questions, we can take those back. I'm looking at them now. Nothing? Okay, it has to be done by March 3rd. So we have to get that done by then. So that will be our next meeting. And looked at them once, I didn't see anything major. Anyway, in any case, is anyone want to hold discussion on these items right now? Just talked about the committee, membership leadership, and financial reports when the treasurer presents. Okay. All right, no questions. We'll go to the next item. 9B, thermometric sales tax. Superintendent Abdullah, anything on that?
So last time it was a discussion regarding the bid and the questioning on tax. And what I gathered from this discussion was Trustee Hoyda wanted more answers to that. So I also, we're asking, we talked to legal. I asked Kevin to be here to answer the questions that we have so we could get the green light. I just felt like I just need to know that the board supports the changes, and then I'll sign off and move with whatever, discussions we have going on. So Kevin's here to discuss. If you could tell him why the change in the scope from the bid and why taxes were excluded and why now the need for taxes and what we've done behind the scenes to get answers.
Yeah, exactly that. We've been talking about this issue for a few months, and when we were getting ready to bid the high school late last summer, early fall, when Steve Burnett was at the table, we had, in consultation with our CM, realized that we were not going to be able to get equipment on time if going through the traditional route of bidding and underneath the subcontractors. So we were literally in a position at the 11th hour again to pre-purchase equipment through the consortium so we could have it for this summer. And with that being said, Mr. Burnett, and it was a wise decision made, said, can we get a proposal put together in short order, which was a matter of days, and then get a board recommendation brought to the board. And I said, well, we can try our best. I know this is kind of a rush thing, but we'll do our best to get that done. And then furthermore, the vendor, Thermalnetics, was indicating that if we did not get an order secured, because every district was competing at that time, by September 1st, we would be seeing a 10% increase, which would result in roughly $250,000 increase if we didn't act on it then and there. So regretfully, the vendor, when they submitted their proposal and when it was brought in front of the board, sales tax was not included. And like Superintendent Abdullah had indicated, we had consulted with legal to make sure that taxes needed to be included. Obviously, there's always a question if the district is tax exempt. That doesn't fall underneath the bond purchases, and this is a permanently installed piece of equipment. So either you have to pay sales tax, or the contractor doing the install has to include use tax, for which neither were included. So we need to include that as part of Thermalnetics' purchase order. And at the end of the day, although it was a rush process, it did save the district about $250,000 by acting in short order.
Trustee Gurley.
So when we reviewed, or when you reviewed the bids, was their bid without tax included compared to other bids which did include tax?
We utilized a consortium purchase through Thermalnetics, who has provided the other equipment in the elementary buildings. We used the same vendor for consistency at the high school, so it was a non-competitive bid, but purchased through consortium.
And if they did not include that in their bid, wouldn't that be, I understand it was a rush process, I understand overall we saved money by doing it earlier rather than waiting. Whose responsibility is that? Is it their responsibility to include that number in their bid? Is it your responsibility as a service provider to the district to review those bids and make sure that everything is included? Why is it that the district is the one that's carrying the financial burden of this mistake?
Well, I can tell you that legally it needs to be included, and it was not included. The vendor probably should have included it as part of their proposal, and it was an oversight that occurred in the rush process to get it in front of the board. So we didn't see the 10%.
Right, but it's not the district's responsibility to include that in the bid. It's not the district's oversight that happened. It's the vendor's responsibility to include that in the bid legally, and their oversight. It was then PMC's oversight that didn't notice it in reviewing the bid before presenting it to the board. So why is it the district that's carrying the cost of that oversight?
Well, I can tell you that they were very clear on their proposal, and we were clear in the recommendation we brought forward that tax was not included. I think there was a question at the time whether it needed to be included or not, and we had consultation thereafter with district legal and determined that it needed to be. I don't think it was necessarily oversight on anyone's part, but I can tell you the district hasn't paid for it, so it's not like we're paying double.
Right. Oversight was your terminology. That was what you said. It was an oversight. That was where I was getting it from. So when we reviewed this with district legal, did they address that question of why it would be our responsibility to carry that?
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the one that I objected to presenting, right? Just remember, I objected to the rush job presentation because I felt like we were rushing and I didn't get all the answers. That being said, now, and is it a savings of $250,000 because we're paying 120?
It was still a savings. It was.
So it's a savings of 125, not $250,000, because we have to pay tax. So the effort was to save money. So anyway, I objected. I kept on saying I'm not going to sign. I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to agree. Then I talked to, they were putting pressure on me to do that. We contacted Kirk at legal. I said, help me understand, because I don't feel,
This is from
Right.
Troon, or?
this is from Troon. So I contacted, I said, hey, you know, we got owner reps that are supposed to represent us. We have a CM that's supposed to represent us. You know, here I am, like, I shouldn't be protecting the district's assets alone. So I'm not throwing anyone under, I'm just saying, you know, we have people that we pay money. So Plummer and Cressa is your owner rep. You're paying them money to represent us. Your construction management, you're paying money to represent us. Whatever the case is, when I talked to Kirk said, well, either way you're gonna eat it, Angel. Either way, they could have put it in there. I think the confusion is they didn't go out in the bid the way you think you went out for bid.
No, I
They
understand.
participated in something that was pretty,
consortium.
so basically it's like, hey, I'm giving you the job.
I understand, it was a consortium purchase,
Yeah.
and so if they had included it, we would have approved a higher amount. It's not costing us more
Yep.
because we didn't see
So-
it. I'm just wondering, we're paying, as you pointed out, we're paying an owner rep. What is the service that we're getting for that if then, when there's an oversight, they come back to us and say it's the district's responsibility? That's my concern.
I can tell you that I wasn't comfortable with this process either at the time, because our hand was being forced. Not gonna throw anyone underneath the bus, but we were told that you need to get this done in a matter of days. And we're not comfortable putting things forward in a matter of days either. Usually these things are vetted well in advance. So at the end of the day, it did save the district roughly $250,000 and secured our order so we could have everything by this summer, but it was not a traditional award recommendation that is vetted, reviewed with the superintendent. It was literally done in a matter of days to save that 10% increase and secure an order.
So we did consult with legal, so.
And
because I was-
legal said it is our.
Kirk said, no, he said either way you could eat the cost. I had the email change, they printed the email change. So I think what Kirk said, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, because your operations here. They said either way, typically, you would have eaten the cost. They should have included that in there, but they didn't. So this is where we are. Do you want to say, we're not going to do it, and send us to a bargaining table with them to see if there's a happy medium between three parties where you share the cost? I would say, hey, you know what, we should all eat part, but that's me. That's my perspective, not trying to say Plant Moraine Crescent, but we pay you good money, and then so we pay CM's good money. But legal said, either way, Angel, that's all I recall him saying, either way, you're gonna eat the cost. It's either this way or one way. Dan?
Either way, we're gonna eat the cost. I mean, basically is really what it came down to. And that's what Kirk said. When you do really look at the documents, the sales tax is mentioned in the document. It was just not itemized. It was not, the dollar amount was not put in there. In the document itself, it did show the $127,000. It was not rolled into the amount that was proposed to the board. So that's really where it came down to.
I have a question. Well, it's not really a question, but it's an adult responsibility. Here in the district, the board is here to approve budgets, to hear the number amount, and we go by what we hear. And it just disheartens me to know that we're actually having a conversation with professional companies that do this on a daily basis. And that is why they're in business, because they bid, they get the higher bid, the lower bid. And I understand we're talking about a tax. However, whenever there's a proposal, such as if you go buy a vehicle, they're not going to give you just the amount of what the car costs. They're going to entitle state, federal, everything. And it just, I don't get it how we're dealing with a multi-million-dollar industry and we forget to mention the taxes. I mean, you saying get them all here, then of course everybody's gonna point the finger at everybody. But the whole point is that they did not include that, when they gave us that bid price. And I remember Miss Goodfriend, you know, bless and peace on her soul, that she egged at this all the time, and I see why, because that one little thing you can miss, and then now we're back here at who fault is it and who fault is it? Well, like you said, we are gonna have to pay for it because, of course, it's our you know, it's something that we pay for, and we have to pay taxes, or we're gonna go to jail, and the FBI is gonna be at the front door, and, you know, that kind of thing, so, go ahead.
Trustee, did you spoken already? Trustee Smith?
Yeah, me, honestly, I don't think it was malicious intent in this. You know, we were gonna have to bite this anyways, and it looks like at the point we did save, you know, some bucks here. So, I just want to give my thought on this. I don't think it was maliciously done. You know, we've been doing work, you know, for quite some time with our vendors and, you know, and our resources. So, you know, I just want to make that known.
Thank you. Trustee, go ahead.
I want to join with what my colleagues have said. I don't think that this was maliciously done, and I appreciate the work that's gone into this. And if our legal team is advising us that we do need, that this is something we have to take responsibility for, then that's what we're going to do. But what I will say is, going back to when PMC services were first presented to the board by Steve Barr, what we were presented with is the board cannot be experts in doing this type of work because that's not what we're going to do, and we don't have the personnel within the district to do that. And so hiring PMC was intended to make sure that these things happen. So what is frustrating to me and disappointing to me is when we're operating, when a presentation comes to the board, we're not second guessing it because that's not our area of expertise, and that's what we're paying for. When then something happens and we hear, well, we weren't really comfortable with it, and I objected to it, and that's really frustrating for me as a board member, because I need to be able to trust when something comes in front of us as a recommendation, that is the recommendation. And if there's uneasiness about it, if there's, then that's something we need to understand in terms of making that decision. But if we're being asked, here's our recommendation, our expectation is that that's based on the expertise that we're paying for. And so it's just frustrating to hear afterwards when there's something that wasn't caught, that, that's just, for me, really, really frustrating, especially having sat through that original process when we were being, that's not what we were sold when we approved the contract initially, and that's frustrating.
Thank you, Trustee Hood. Anything else from members of the board? Good, hearing none, thank you.
I will say
I'm sorry.
I will say that I've been clear with them on going forward on, remind the board that I objected, that's why you hire me, is to present things to you, or you have a certain expectation when something is presented to the board that it's gone through that. And so that'll never happen again. I objected to it in the beginning, I was clear about it. I've been clear with Plant Moran Crest, I was clear with operations. I didn't feel comfortable, and when it was presented to you and you felt like, when you made the remarks on, well, it gives us a savings on that time, right, because that's how it's sold. When you rush, people make mistakes. And that's why you hire me to represent you, so we are not rushing. That's why the same thing with right now that just occurred with the cardiac response, because there are certain things that have to go through checks and balances before they're presented to you. And so we've been clear with the entire team about nothing being presented to you before it goes to Plant Moran. So I just want to go on the record that that is the process, and that has been the process. I've been clear with the team. Nothing even gets presented to me anymore without it going through legal, because things were being presented that was not shared through legal before, and that has stopped as well.
Thank you. So we'll be hearing from you next month, I believe, monthly moving forward, yes?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. We're going to item 10, Board and Administration Communications, the ME Communications for members of the administration.
None, I think we're good today.
I needed to smile anyway. Any communications from members of the board? Dawn is like, ooh, come on, Dawn.
Sure. So, you mentioned the Catching Kids' Heart. So there was a time where we actually had that before when Principal Charity Jones was here, and it was called Catching Kids' Heart. So I'm glad to hear that coming back here. And also, since this is Black History Month, there are so many, oh my God, accolades that are going out. But I just want to just mention two here in in Michigan, but in Detroit. There's a doctor who became the first Black woman to lead the neurosurgeon department, and her name is Dr. Sonia Eden. She's at DMC. That just happened just a few months ago. And then we have our own Detroit Martin Luther King graduate. His name is Sauce Gardner. He's a football player, a defensive rookie. So he was awarded the 2022 Defensive Rookie of the Year award for the NFL, and that's all I have. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Trustee Smith.
Yeah, I have two things here. I had the honor of attending the Oak Park Community District meeting. What do we call it? City Council meeting, along with President Elvin, and I was really proud at that time because President Elvin stepped up and represented our district in an outstanding fashion. So I want to thank you. I heard the birthday joke.
Thank you.
So then, in lieu of the Oak Park Youth Association, their attendants here, Judith Salador, and of course Carla Weiss, she always represents as well. You know, I know that we have a partnership going on. So I attended their meeting. This past last week, Thursday. I attended that meeting and actually signed up to volunteer in both the Youth Enrichment Committee and the Research and Program Development Committee. So I just wanted to make sure we had some representation from the school in there as well. We do have another teacher instructor that's here, from Nova, who's also part of the Oak Park Youth Association. I can't. There you go. So I just wanted to just let you know we're all in, we're engaged, and looking forward to the synergies in the future. That's it.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? I've got two quick things. Had a great opportunity to break bread and have McDonald's lunch with Savannah Campbell, third grader over at Pepper, who wrote a letter to me for Board Appreciation Month of January, and she is doing outstanding work over at Pepper, has really good grades, and it was a pleasure to have lunch with her. I promised her we would do it again if she could. She claims she already has this, so we'll see if she maintains it. But all more A's than B's and no C's on her report card. So we'll do it again in the spring. By then, I hope I can chew. And then also had an opportunity, as Superintendent Abdullah had noted, to meet with the senior class officers over at Oak Park High School. You know, as a board member, we don't get in front of students much, and when we do, it's very impactful. And you know, got to hear their feedback. Some of it was some things we need to do better, and I accept that. You know, they tell the truth, shame the devil. Out of the mouths of babes. So they say there's some things we can do better. I know Superintendent Abdullah had us working with them. I've asked them to include me when they meet again. It was a very inspiring group. You know, we had a couple of basketball players. I still don't have that schedule though, so I need the schedule so I can go check them out. But it was a great discussion, and looking forward to making some enhancements for their experience, as well as attending any of the games that I can for the young men that were in that class as well. So thank you for setting that opportunity up, and I look forward to the next go round so we can hear updates of where things are, and they will definitely tell you the truth. Which is a good thing. It's what we need to hear. So with that, I don't have anything more. Anything else from the members of the board? Nothing. Any addenda? Administration board? Nothing. Okay. Trustee Davis.
The next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, February 27th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom at the Administration Building.
Thank you. With that, then, the time is 9:07. If there are no objections, we will